Hi, it's Bob Warner with greenbeehives.com again, home of the Victor and the IPK. What is the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way to feed your bees? You're going to need a 10-cent Ziploc bag. If you buy them at Walmart, you get about 50 of them for $5. 4-pound bag of sugar, and we're going to mix it with 4 pounds of water, which is 4 pints. Learned a long time ago, a pint's a pound the world around. So we're going to put 4 pints of hot water in any type of storage container. I like this one. I got it as a paint saving container at Lowe's. And there's a 2-quart mark, so it saves me time. I've got my hot water set very hot for this purpose. Also makes instant coffee very quick. If you don't have hot enough water, you might want to put it on a stove for a few minutes to make it hotter. This helps to dissolve the sugar faster. Okay, 2 quarts of hot water weighs 4 pounds. That's 4 pints. We're going to dump our 4-pound bag of sugar, which is very convenient. Years ago, they stopped selling 5-pound bags of sugar because they wanted to make you think the price was lower. We cut them down to 4 pounds. Okay, there's 2 quarts of hot water. Now this is a 1-to-1 sugar ratio, and they say 1-to-1 sugar ratio is great in the spring, and 2-to-1 sugar ratio is better in the fall. You haven't really figured that one out yet, but the reality is it's very hard to get a 2-to-1 ratio to dissolve. It's very saturated, and you'll spend, I don't know, overnight trying to get that much sugar dissolved in the water. With 4 pounds of sugar, 4 pounds of water makes not 2 quarts, but 3 quarts. The reason is syrup, sugar water, is 150% more dense than water. If you don't have a 4-pound bag of sugar and you're measuring it out, you take a measuring cup and you can measure 2 cups as a pint and go ahead, and it turns out that the same volume of sugar and water make the same weight. You'll find your pint of sugar is also a pound. 2 pints, 3 pints, 4 pints, so forth. 4 pounds of sugar. I could have gotten 8 cups of sugar out of that bag of sugar. Now it doesn't take very long for a 1-to-1 ratio if your water's hot. I've almost got it dissolved at this point. When you don't see any sugar swirling around the bottom of the container, it's done. Now, just to tell you why I like this so much, I don't have a cap here right now, but the little quart jars that you put a cap on, it would take me about a week to get the bees to take the syrup out of that little quart jar. And when you look at the bottom of it, half the holes have propolis in them. And then you have to take a needle or punch all the propolis holes open to use it the next time. Meanwhile, they're not getting any syrup out of those holes that are filled with propolis. You can, by the way, soak propolis in rubbing alcohol, and those little quart lids, the propolis will dissolve and fall to the bottom, and it'll save you a lot of time poking them with a needle, but I've gotten rid of that. I used to sell this with a top on it, and the top had 80 holes punched in it, and it would still take the bees 3 or 4 days to absorb this syrup. When I put this in a Ziploc bag, we're going to go out and put it on a hive. I'm going to show you some bags I put on a couple of days ago, and I haven't looked at them yet, but I'm pretty sure they're all going to be empty, because all it takes is this bag with a 1-inch slit. Don't get exuberant. Don't make a 2-inch, 3-inch hole. It'll work, but when it starts to get empty, the bees will be able to crawl into the bag, and you'll come out there and you'll find an absolute bag full of bees. If you wanted to do a test for varroa mites and you needed a jar full of bees, you'd have them right there. But not good. So what we're going to do is put a 1-inch slit, that's that big, in the top of the bag when it's laying on an inner cover. And because this is set about this high, we're going to use one of our mediums around the bag and then put our telescoping top on top of that. So you've got your inner cover, you've got your bag full of syrup, and then you set your medium around it and put your telescoping top back on. Bees will be coming up there day and night until it's empty, taking syrup, taking it down, storing it in the comb for winter, turning it into honey. So now I've got the syrup in this one. You'll need some type of container to hold your Ziploc bag, and I just set it like this. Take my bucket, make sure that all the sugar is dissolved, and I don't hear anything grainy down there, so it's probably all dissolved now. And I slowly pour it into the bag, and the bag will expand. I might stop and pull it up a little bit, but it's sort of self-supporting at a certain point, and there we are. And virtually all the sugar is now in the bag with the water. All we have to do now is zip it shut. Be sure you get the ones with the zipper. If you just get the ones where you squeeze them with your finger, they have a tendency to pop open under the weight. This now has 6 pounds of syrup in it. If I flap this open over without one of the zipper type, it would spring open. And I know that from personal experience. Okay, now we're going to go out to the bee yard, and we're going to take out one of the bags that we put in a couple days ago, replace it with this. Walk up here.
Okay.
Why don't you take a look in there. This is the bag I put on a couple days ago. So much, well, there's no syrup left in there at all. They ate it all from that little slit. So now I'm going to replace it. The first thing I have to do is get the bees out of that area. To put it. Hopefully your hole is a little off center somewhere. That makes it a little easier. We set the bag there so there's enough room to put the super around it. If you're anywhere near level, putting a 1-inch slit right there is enough. The air is going out now. There's a little oozing of the syrup there, which the bees will find in about 10 seconds. You could see they were ready for another bag because there isn't a drop left in that bag. Now I'm going to put the medium super that goes around it. Put the top back on. The best part is the cleanup. You throw this in the trash, you're cleaned up 100%. After you clean a few propolis holes, you'll appreciate this cleanup job. And this was 3 quarts of syrup 2 days ago, so they didn't leave a drop, but no syrup. Make sure you have the freezer bags with the zipper. The zipper is much stronger than the ones with just the strip, and the freezer bags are a little thicker, so when you put a little 1-inch slit in that bag, they will be able to get out virtually every drop of the syrup out of it. Don't worry about making a big slit. If you do, when it gets almost empty, the bees will crawl into the slit and you'll end up with a bag full of bees that you may want if you're going to go ahead and do a sugar roll for varroa mites. But for most